Just a short drive from the famous palaces of St. Petersburg is an ordinary office building that's become infamous. This for rent sign adorns the former home of the now notorious Russian troll factory, which the US accuses of meddling in its 2016 presidential election and where Vitaly Bespalov used to work. The term Kremlin troll is a known thing in Russia, but Americans and Canadians weren't prepared for it, he says. In 2014, Bespalov saw an online ad for what he thought was a journalism job, but quickly discovered he was actually a professional troll. My job was to write 20 news articles a day full of pro-Kremlin propaganda, he says, and then share the articles using fake online accounts I created with photos taken from real profiles, usually women, because they were considered more trustworthy. Bespalov's articles focused on Ukraine. Instead of the annexation of Crimea by pro-Russian separatists, this was a Russian reunification, thanks to these freedom fighters. We were the pioneers of this work, he says. I never imagined then that it would become an international story. Vitaly Bespalov says he only worked here for a few months, but before he left, they'd started to hire English-speaking employees. They worked in a different area, he says, under tighter security, and their propaganda targeted Western countries.
The trolls are very proud of themselves, sure.
This Russian journalist revealed how the troll factory evolved, from a couple hundred employees to more than 1,000 trolls, with posts reaching up to 50 million people. They even organized and funded political protests and counter-protests in the US.
Their main aim never was to support Trump. I mean, their main aim was to raise all tensions in the American society.
Pleasure to have you here, Tom.
But what about Canadian society? Zakharov says Canada's close proximity and relationship to the US means Canadians are also targeted, albeit on a much smaller scale.
There were thousands of tweets that talked about Canadian issues.
This American professor analyzed 3 million tweets, which were traced back to the troll factory. Those targeting Canadians often focused on divisive issues such as migration, claiming Canada forced to take drastic action to stop illegals from flooding in, and Syrian refugees are not welcome to Toronto. One tweet said, "Keep Canada white," while another promoted Black Lives Matter. The accounts picked up thousands of followers and millions of retweets.
We saw significant changes in the way that these accounts acted over time. They got sneakier, they got harder to identify.
Is that Canadians are there for each other.
More than 2,000 tweets specifically highlight Justin Trudeau. Bespalov has no doubt Canada's next federal election will be targeted. In most cases, the voters decide. But if it's a close race, the trolls might have an impact. Canada has to be on its guard, Bespalov says. The trolls' main goal, he says, is to exploit tensions and sow division in Western countries. And their success is difficult to deny. Jeff Semple, Global News, St. Petersburg.